What's up, guys? Welcome back to Dark Heresy, going into hour number 2 here. Steve and I think you have a lobotomy to perform.
Yeah. Okay, so the doors hiss open on Engelbart Kappa as he lies on the cold steel of the Mechanicus, experimentation table, and a
experimentation table. They don't experiment. What the fuck?
And a tech priest strides in. He moves preternaturally smoothly, and you can see under the fringe of his Mechanicus robe that he has something like 1,000 tiny little legs made out of, they look almost like centipede legs made out of steel, and he is gliding forwards along them. He draws out his 2 arms from within the folds of his robes, and they're relatively humanoid arms, but they reveal a body that is like segmented and riveted together, and there's a power plasma core in the very center of his chest that glows with a blue energy. And he says, "Greetings, Engelbart Kappa. I am Tech Priest Thanatoikos. It is nice to meet you."
Is Engelbart strapped down to the table at this point in time?
You know what? I don't think he is. I think when operating on their own kind, the Mechanicus don't bother with such silly things as straps because they know that any true Mechanicus member is strong enough of will to shut down their motor functions while the operation is taking place.
Sweet. So he's just in that robe that shows his butt, then, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And he says, Kappa, it has come to our attention that you possess information which is of a tech heretical nature, and we must examine your memory cortex in order to verify the information we have received. Do you assent to the operation?
It's not going to make much of a difference anyway, because you're probably going to take it by force regardless. So as a loyal adept of the Cult Mechanicus, I would, of course, offer up the information stored up in my data cortex freely and with minimal lobotomy.
Your
possible.
pragmatism and loyalty are to be admired. So he pulls out a couple mechadendrites that have, whirling blades on the end, and then he says, no, these are the wrong implements. And he pulls out another one that simply has a data port on the end. And he says, lie still, this will not take long. And he attaches a couple of snaking tendrils to the back of your head, injects a couple nerve blockers into your system, and your entire body goes numb, and you feel, quite relaxed. The tech priest Thanatoikos actually mutters under his breath. In binary, you can hear him muttering about the tragedy of acolytes being required to keep their flesh neurological system for so long. And then he gets to work, and you smell the lovely stench of burning flesh, and you hear the saws buzzing behind your ears. And then you feel this incredible jolt just like go all the way through your entire nervous system as his data port makes connection with your spinal column. Would you roll against your toughness for me, Engelbart?
All right. I will do that.
And you get a +20 because of the skill of the tech priest.
Sounds reasonable. All right. 64.
Ooh. Now, your toughness is
37.
37, so that puts you at 57, so you failed. Ooh, I wonder if there's anything like shock or aging or, let's find out.
Aging?
You could just cry like a child, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you cry like a child, and then maybe something on the fear chart. I feel like rolling on a table is the best possible thing that we can do at this particular juncture.
The sanity chart, right?
Yeah, fear test is 232. Let's see what that looks like. And then maybe we'll go look at the sanity chart as well. The shock table.
Oh, you could fate point it, by the way, TB, if you wanted.
I could. That would be a...
Let's see how bad he shits himself first, and then we'll make the decision.
While he's looking that up.
Yeah, okay.
People.
What you have to do now
I'll fate
is...
point that.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Mostly because I just don't trust you, to be fair with this.
Yeah, no. That's legit.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you believe that I'm avoiding my just punishment that you've written for me, so you're going to screw me over every way you can.
Developing this. I mean, come on.
All I'm saying is that, Man of Steel right here.
Oh, disappointing. Nice. All right, so now make a willpower test plus 20.
What the fuck? Okay.
So you're rolling against your willpower plus 20.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Ah, very nice. Okay, so we're not going to roll on the mental traumas chart. Dang it.
You survived the lobotomy.
Are there any demons at any point? I mean, it's like, right, we're going to roll on the terrors of the warp now. It's like, why? What's your more justification for that? It's like,
there was a little psychic information passing. I don't know. It's just fun. Just roll on it. Go. So you muscle through, grit your teeth, and the exchange of information happens quite rapidly. Thanatoikos brings together his pincers and his sewing shears, and knits back together the flesh and bone of the rear of your head. It squirts a little bit of rejuvenate gel at the back of your skull to help seal the flap in your skull that he cut in order to access your spinal column. Within an hour or two, you're sitting up and recovering and feeling significantly less groggy. Thanatoikos re-enters the room after a period of absence, and he says, Engelbart Kappa, this information is of great importance. It was right for you to bring this to our attention. I will need to be in close contact with you in the future. Let us exchange Vox communication channels. And he spits out a burst of binary that you interpret as the address for his communication channel.
Fair enough.
He says, I will accompany you to see the Honorable Judge Hims-Biggins. It is perhaps not possible to get you out of the trial entirely, but at the very least, my testimony can ease your passage.
Because I wrote out this entire trial and I won't see it go to waste. I am the GM.
It's the fiat.
So as they approach Steven, I'm doing a barrel roll out of the flaming building, and I'm going to turn and shoot back into the window with both my guns.
And you're aiming for Hims-Biggins' big bottom, I suppose.
Yes.
Good. So, to return to you guys and Hims-Biggins' personal courtroom, are you going to knock on the door, or are you simply going to wait outside with the other miscreants who sit along the bench outside the courtroom?
Given our position, we probably walk up and knock on the door or whatever.
Steven, am I still freaking out at this point? Am I?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
what?
Oh, everything's moving really slow motion. It's like you've taken like 9 hours to get to where you are right now.
What in the hell were you made aware of, Eli?
So if I focus on someone's face, does it just look like their face?
Yes, it just looks like their face, but you can see like every pore on their face, and you can see like each pore opening and closing separately. Everybody's face is sort of like.
So I don't notice this?
No, the rest of you are not nearly as affected, but Fricks, you could try a Psyniscience roll to try and see if you recognize this effect that's going on.
What is that based off of? Willpower?
Psyniscience is a skill that you have, I think.
Yeah, I do. I definitely have it.
Yep.
So it would let me identify what was wrong with JP.
So you see
Eli?
You see this effect at a very minor level. Eli is much more affected. But
okay, so I would have a reason to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean.
All right, go ahead and make a roll against your Psyniscience.
Okay, so my perception is 34. So I just put 34 in here and then 0.
Yep. Okay. So, unfortunately, you're not able to understand what is going on. Let me double check what exactly Cynitions entails, because it might be entertaining to, it might be entertaining.
That's what
Yeah, totally. Okay, awesome. Yes, you are trying to become attuned with the ebb and flow of the warp.
Yes,
The
yes.
Imperium. The most common application of this skill is to detect the presence or absence of demons or other psychers. You open your mind to the warp, to the perils of the warp, and you immediately feel the effect intensifying. And would you make a roll against your willpower, please?
And
Did you ask for this week? Don't be back. No, it's your fault.
Sorry, in the break, I didn't see fucking Steven pull out the hooks and start putting worms on him. I didn't see that part. All right. My willpower is 47.
That's pretty good. Oh my god! You guys are thwarting me at every turn. All right. You feel this just incredible presence pressing against the surface of your brain. You can actually feel it inside of your head, and it feels like your skin is crawling. And like JP's face starts doing that exact same sort of like unpucker thing that like now you're seeing on everybody's face. But fortunately, you manage to like push back against this presence that's pushing against your brain, and you just
guys,
hold
this
yourself
weather's
together.
something strange. I feel my stomach's a little queasy.
You
man.
You think loving, romantic thoughts of the Emperor himself,
Yes.
and you pull yourself together. Jax's meaty ham-hock fists beat against the door of Himsbiggen's courtroom, and the door slams open straight up into the ceiling. Wham! And on the other side, there is like a servitor who is... He's got a head that's like 2.5 times the size of a normal head, and he is like a dwarf. So he stands about like 3 feet tall, and he's got a huge head. And on top of his huge head, he's wearing this huge powdered white wig. And his entire face is like painted with white makeup with 2 little like bright red spots right here. And he's got like tiny little lips drawn on his face with like lipstick. And he says,
I want to play a game.
He says, "Hello, you have reached the room of the mighty Himsbiggens. It is not your turn. You must wait. Thank you." And the door slams shut in your face again.
Well, before it does, I grab it, I guess.
You grab the door or the guy?
Yeah, the door.
All right, Jax loses an arm. Let's continue on.
Go ahead and roll against your strength.
All right.
Meanwhile, I turn to Eli and say, "How does his neck support his head?"
My strength is 39, so...
It's so big.
Oh, I'll do the skill test. 39. Any adjustments or whatever? No. 0. 67.
Okay, so you grab it like just before it hits the floor, and you're like straining with all of your might to keep it from closing down on your hands, and you manage to keep it, but it's obviously not open large enough for you to like get through or anything like that. And now you're like, you're okay.
Let
it go.
I'm not like fighting to get in there or something like that. I'm just like, then I knock.
It slams down, and then it hisses back, opens immediately, and this strange little man is standing there with his hands on his hips, cutting a very comical figure, and he says, "You have reached the court of the great Himsbiggens. It seems that you are not following proper protocol. Please enter the court."
The room?
Yeah, do you enter?
Yes, thank you, friend. And I walk in.
The room inside is incredibly well lit, bright white light. There are a number of like huge paintings that are probably like 50 feet by like 200 feet tall on each side of this courtroom, and it's like the entire thing. It's just it gives this incredible impression of like dramatic vertical height, because the room is really only like 30 feet by like 60 feet. It's not like it's a big room or anything, but it's incredibly tall, and it's got these massive portraits on each side of Himsbiggens himself, who is standing there behind his bench.
Is this Himsbiggens?
This is Himsbiggens.
The little robot?
the little tiny guy is not Himsbiggens. That's just the bailiff.
Oh.
And Himsbiggens sits behind
Is he a
the
big
desk,
guy?
and He's got this massive rotund belly. He also is wearing a big powdered white wig and a similar sort of face paint to the bailiff as well. And he's wearing a vest that's like obviously way too tight for him, and one of the buttons has popped off, so there's like a big hole in the middle where it's showing his shirt under his vest. And he says, "Who has entered the court of Hims-Biggins before his time? This is most irregular, most irregular, yes.
Your Majesty, Mr. Hims-Biggins, my name is Jax Romulus, these are my friends. We work with, we're with the Arbiters, and we're actually here because the matters of most importance, we need to track down some potential taint within the Arbiters system itself. It's most grotesque, but we're here because during our investigation, one of our friends is being accused of murder of someone that was tainted with, with the warp itself, and this person was wielding powers and weapons that is beyond Hereticus, and anyways, we need to move on with our investigation, and in doing that, we need your blessing that we're not going to be slowed down by a prosecution.
Guilty.
And I show him my...
And he brings down his gavel on the desk. Clack! And you notice that there was another man kneeling in front of the bench with two Arbites guards on each side. And he stands up and shrieks, "No! No, please! My wife, my children! How would they live without me? It was only one loaf of bread! It is no problem!" And the Arbites guards drag him off into the side into another room, and the door hisses closed behind them.
Yeah, I just kind of chuckle. I'm just like,
Mr. Hims-Biggins, I like the way you put out justice. I'm a fan of that.
You hear this incredibly loud from through the closed door. The door hisses opens, and the two Arbites guards walk back out of it.
Yeah,
and Hims turns his attention
sir,
to you again.
I come from a death world, and we did not mess around with justice. If someone's found guilty, it's best to put them down fast than to let them spread the taint, basically.
Yes. I agree entirely. Now, about your friend. You said that one of your compatriots was in the justice system, yes? Is that true? Is that what you said?
Well, he's been accused of murder, but the person was a part of our investigation, and they had possession of items that were very much so, and they were tainted, and it is part of Hereticus, so it's within our bounds to execute the law as we saw fit.
Murder, and he brings up an extra third arm with a data slate on it, and he brings up a fourth arm, and he starts tapping on the data slate and scrolling through. He says, yes, there are 6,781 cases currently pending trial for murder. Now, are there any more details you can perhaps offer me to help filter down?
A friend's name, and he's quite invaluable in our investigation, is Engelbart Kappa. He's currently, I think he went off with the Adeptus Mechanicus. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
He currently went off. That? Sorry, Fricks. We'll get you a burrito at the fish taco stand afterwards, please.
Why would you tell him that?
He says, went to consult his superiors on the case, but we're here to speak with you beforehand.
Engelbart Kappa. Yes, well, he types on the data slate again and filters down. And he says, yes, there are only 2 Engelbart Kappas in the system for murder, and only one of them is a tech priest adept, and so I assume that it is that one of whom you speak, yes?
I grabbed
You are
Fricks
both
and
handsome, wise, and good at your job, friend.
Excellent. Now, what seems to be the problem? It looks as though he is accused of murder. What do you want from me?
Strangely enough, the house we're working with, we actually freed the daughter of House Phaedrus from abduction. I'm actually having a tough time with this accent right now. The abduction. That we also, like I said, we came across some man who was a tradesman, but perhaps had a more nefarious past, was in possession of things like melta-weaponry, warp tablets. He had information that was obviously beyond anything a good emperor-faring citizen would have, so we had to pursue justice, and in doing so, House Phaedrus did not believe.
Honorable Judge Biggins taps on the data slate again. He says, name?
What? It's Horkenfriend. His name was Horkenfriend, but more like Horken son of a bitch, if you ask me.
Yes. Well, he will be case 3,227 of possession of illicit warp-related materials. Oh, very well. Good. Let him know that his court date is scheduled for 972 days from now.
Well, Hawken Friend's quite dead, friend. As I said, he was very dangerous to the fabric of society itself, and in doing so, Engelbart Cap has been raised here. We need to move on with our investigation, as it has far more dangerous implications than mere murder. As you can understand, we are arbitres. People die.
Well, this is most unusual. You are asking me to waive the charges against Engelbart Kappa, yes? Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes.
Yes.
And he taps on the data slate again. He
If I'm saying
shakes
the
it.
wrong guy, by the way, just let me know. I ask for a pass when we play every 3 months.
Victor.
I think you're saying
Victor.
the right guy. Engelbart Kappa, you're trying to
Hawken
get...
Friend wasn't the guy who's
No,
Victor?
Wasn't-
Horkenfriend was the guy. Yeah.
It wasn't
No,
Victor
no.
We didn't
Yeah.
know
It was
about
Victus.
we didn't know
It
about
was-
Victus
or
though.
Victus. Yeah.
He
No,
never
but
They
told
don't know
us.
guys
about Hawken Friend, but well done for telling them.
Yeah.
You guys,
That's it.
you guys
Well,
encountered Horkenfriend, who was in possession
Let's just
of
clean
warp
this up.
spells.
Who are we going to see the judge about who he was being accused of murdering from? Is it the Mortician?
Yes. Engelbart was accused of murdering the Mortician.
By House
And-
Phaedrus.
Yes. And I thought you had just told the judge that Horkenfriend was accused of, like, warp heresy, basically.
Yes.
Well, like I said, just give me a pass on this. We were on our way to do this. I just meant the guy that he was being accused of murdering, which I
Well,
guess the
I don't-
Mortician.
We don't know.
yeah, I don't
right?
think you guys actually knew because Engelbart never told you. And
Did we just say it was a misunderstanding?
They certainly
then?
knew who I was accused of killing because that
Yeah.
was told to us by House
yes,
Phaedrus.
because
First,
Matron
Okay,
Phaedrus-
okay.
I think we were
I
going to
obviously
find out
wouldn't
more
metagame. I wouldn't
information.
give
Yeah.
information I don't have. What I would have said is that in the investigation, he's been accused of murder. Clearly, he didn't do that. But even if he did, we're in pursuit of taint, and like some people are going to die along the way. I guess.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
absolutely. Okay. Hims Biggins taps on the data slate a number of times, and he shakes it, and he grows increasingly frustrated, and he says, bailiff, come here and see if you can work this thing. I can't delete an entry. And the bailiff bobbles over with his huge head, like waddling from side to side, and he grabs the data slate, and Hims Biggins pats his big belly with like all four of his hands, and he says, my, I'm quite peckish. Are you peckish? I'm peckish. Yes?
I'm just like,
He says that to the little Stewie.
No, he's saying that to you.
Yeah, friend. I'm as peckish as a pecker can get.
Let's have a feast. I'll have a feast brought in. Yes, feast time.
It's most generous of you.
And the bailiff sort of like hands the data slate back to the judge, and he said he pipes something in his high voice. You can't quite catch it. And the judge sort of looks at him and says, What? And the judge turns his head back to you, and he says, Mr. Romulus,
Yes,
there's a problem.
there usually
You
is.
see, I don't have the proper bureaucratic authorization to delete cases from the system, and as such, the only possible recompense I am able to offer you is to accelerate the case to today, if you would like.
Friend, if that's the best you can do, I understand fully. I appreciate it.
Very well. Twist my arm. I can substitute one suspect for another.
Oh.
Yes. So rather than charging Engelbart Kappa, I can charge, what did you say your middle name was? Jaximus Decimus Romulus?
Yes.
Very good. So, let the trial begin. So, Jax, you are accused hereby of... What is it again? You know what?
The murder of
let's
some mortician man, I believe.
let's get that feast in here. And he claps his hands, and a couple of servitors like trundle in with like they're crawling on all fours, and they like their knees are like bent backwards and stuff, and like it's very clear that their entire body has been reshaped in order to like let them be mobile platter bearers. They like scurry in from two low doors off to the right of the room, which hiss open, and there's like a jug of fine amasec and a plate of vat-grown grapes and various cuts of, pseudo meats or protein slabs, all in a thick brown gravy sauce, of course.
I tell him many a tale of our journey so far and laugh quite often.
Yeah, it's a joyous occasion to share a meal with Hims Biggins, and at the end of the meal, Hims pats his the corners of his mouth. Fricks and Eli, do you partake in the meal as well?
Fricks?
I
Is that even a question?
pick around.
How much of the meal would you say you ate? All or more than?
Is it
9
possible
of
to
7
bring out
courses.
more feasts?
9 of
Good.
7 courses.
Okay.
Got to keep that brain healthy, boys.
Yeah.
She
Absolutely.
like wipes
So,
gravy off of her chest. Yeah.
Hims Biggins tucks his cravat back in his neck. It's now splotched with a couple splotches of gravy. He drains his glass of Amasek. He says, "Now, well then, Jax Romulus, you are hereby accused of the murder of," and he scrolls through his data slate, taps a couple buttons. You hear a couple beat. Access denied. I swear his authorization, Delta 47 Alpha Quadrant.
Let's just call him Dick Butt. I don't care. He's a mortician man.
Mortician Victus of the House Phaedrus. In service to House Phaedrus, yes, for the last 237 years. A most serious charge, Jax. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Ah, that's a shame. That means we have to go through an actual trial. Well, I believe that an appropriate trial for you is... Yes, I believe I require you to memorize and recite the 37 catechisms of the Emperor. Guards! He claps his hands and two incredibly robust-looking Arbites guards step up next to you, Jax. And each puts a hand on your shoulder, and they say, "Take Jax Romulus to cell Alpha 3.
Now,
And
hold on
at
a
that-
second here, friend. When you said you'd accelerate the case, it was my understanding that once I explained to you that I've never seen this mortician man, I would be absolved of the crime, as that alibi is lock and steady. I mean, you can't pull anyone in here that puts me at the scene of the crime. Why would I do any punishment?
Oh my! You actually think that the veracity of what actually happened has any bearing on the trial? Oh no! You see, the bureaucracy must flow, Jax, and that means that I must try someone, and that someone, as you so graciously volunteered, must be you. And since it must be you, and we must have a trial, I have assigned a trial for you. And if you can memorize the 37 catechisms of the Emperor, then you are innocent. And if you cannot, you are guilty and will be condemned to death. Next!
We've seemed to have reached a rather steady conclusion here. May I interject a little bit, friend?
The door in the back hisses open, and an incredibly tall, imposing figure in a long, rust-red robe enters the room, gliding as if suspended above the ground on thousands of centipedal legs. And he speaks in a monotone voice, and he says, "Judge Hims Biggins, I am Tech Priest Thanatoikos," and behind him you see a familiar face, that of Engelbart Kappa.
I just
Kappa!
waved to him.
Eat. Come eat.
Engelbart, do you want to partake in any of the leftover foods that are, lying around?
He eats
I
the
do not
forks.
require nourishment packs at this time.
Excellent, Kappa. It is good that we keep our focus on the trial at hand. Now, Judge Hims Biggins, he says, you are arresting and retaining the incorrect personage. The correct personage to retain is this gentleman here, Engelbart Kappa, an acolyte of the Tech Priests of Mars. Hims Biggins says,
that's totally fine. He can step back into the spotlight.
This is most unusual. We have already delivered the trial verdict. Not the verdict, but we have delivered the trial. Certainly, it would be unusual to allow.
It hasn't been input yet, friend. You can very clearly just swap out here right now, right? Isn't that
the tech priest spits out a blare of binaric cant, and of course, Engelbart, you recognize this as like cursing of the highest order. This guy is spitting mad. Hims Biggins.
I cover my vox emitter with my hands in shock. For I am but an innocent acolyte. I wouldn't know of
his
such
hands in
things.
the air. All four of them. And he says, very well, very well. If the priests of Mars ask, then I will transfer the trial from Jax Romulus to Engelbart Kappa. Engelbart Kappa,
If you must, friend. If you absolutely must.
you are required to memorize the 37 catechisms of the Emperor.
Okay. Is this the time when I point out that there is no such thing as the catechisms of the Emperor? And in fact, most of the catechisms are in fact part of the Mechanicus, as it turns out.
Hemsbiggins shakes his finger at you. He says, you're a rather lippy young man. Just go read these documents and spit them back out to me.
I put up my hand, and I allow the air of the room just to quieten for a second.
Yes. Hemsbiggins stops. He looks a little perturbed. He's never really been treated like this before.
Frick stops with like a meat still in her mouth.